It was supposed to be an ordinary evening. My husband was out of town for a few days, and I had the house to myself, or so I thought. My stepson, Liam, texted earlier that he'd be dropping by with a friend to crash after a party nearby. I didn't mind. It was summer, and the house felt too quiet anyway. When they arrived, I greeted them casually. Liam introduced his friend as Jordan. I recognized the name. He'd been mentioned in passing a few times, usually paired with late-night study sessions or beer runs. In person, he was polite, self-assured, and, to my surprise, much more mature than most boys his age. Something about the way he held eye contact made me momentarily uneasy. We all sat in the living room, half watching a movie, half talking over it. Liam eventually dozed off on the couch, the alcohol from earlier catching up to him. Jordan and I stayed up chatting. Nothing flirtatious, just easy conversation about mundane things. Summer plans, college stress, my work-from-home routine. But I noticed the way he listened, fully, intently, as if every word mattered. It was disarming. At one point, I laughed a little too hard at something he said. It wasn't even that funny. It just felt nice to laugh like that again. Without realizing it, I found myself watching him when he wasn't looking. His features were soft in the dim light. He had a confidence about him. Not cocky but composed, like he knew the effect he had but didn't push it. I kept reminding myself he was Liam's friend. A kid, really. I was older, married. Still, something subtle was happening, a shift in air. A flicker of awareness that neither of us acknowledged out loud. When Jordan got up to grab another soda from the kitchen, I noticed the way he moved, effortless, unbothered. I shook the thought away, embarrassed. Maybe it was the wine I'd been sipping earlier. Maybe it was loneliness. My husband and I had been distant lately, always tired, always busy. Conversations that used to last hours now ended in sighs and silence. Jordan returned with a soda and a casual smile. "You look like someone who doesn't sleep much," he said, half joking. "Guilty," I replied, smiling back, ignoring the knot tightening in my stomach. Eventually, I stood and said goodnight. As I walked down the hallway to my bedroom, I didn't look back. I didn't have to. I could feel his eyes following me. And in that moment, I knew something had shifted. It was nothing, but it was enough. I couldn't sleep. The house was still, but my mind wasn't. I kept thinking about our conversation, how easy it felt, how present he was. It had been a long time since someone really looked at me that way, like I wasn't just someone's wife or someone's stepmother. Just me. Around midnight, I heard footsteps. I peeked through the hallway and saw Jordan sitting alone at the dining table, scrolling through his phone. I hesitated, then walked out, pretending I needed water. He looked up and smiled. "Couldn't sleep either?" I shook my head and poured a glass. He didn't say anything at first, just watched me with a quiet calm. I leaned against the counter and asked, "You doing okay?" He nodded, then added, "You're different than I expected. Liam never said you were so easy to talk to." I laughed softly. "I'll take that as a compliment." He tilted his head, considering something. "You seem lonely." His words weren't invasive. They were observant, almost empathetic. I didn't answer. I didn't have to. He already knew. We talked more about life, about choices, about how strange it is to feel like you're just going through motions. He shared stories from his childhood, things that clearly shaped him. I listened, intrigued. He wasn't immature, not in the way I'd assumed. He had depth, sensitivity. He noticed things most people didn't. Time passed quickly. The distance between us felt smaller with every sentence. At one point, he made a comment about how people settle too often, how they convince themselves to be content instead of actually being happy. It struck something in me. Maybe because I'd been doing exactly that for years. "You deserve to feel something real," he said quietly. His voice wasn't flirtatious. It was sincere. Too sincere. I froze. That moment, the way he looked at me, wasn't harmless anymore. It was heavy. He wasn't just noticing me. He was drawn to me. And I was letting him. I tried to laugh it off, but my body betrayed me. My skin was flushed, my pulse racing. We locked eyes for just a second too long. Neither of us moved, but everything changed. I should go to bed, I said, finally, my voice uneven. He didn't stop me. He just nodded, but the way he looked at me, there was no confusion in his gaze. No hesitation. He knew exactly what he was doing. As I walked away, I didn't feel relief. I felt pulled, like something had been set in motion, and I was powerless to stop it. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, hearing every small creak in the house. Every thought replayed in my mind, his words, his tone, the way he'd seen straight through me. I wasn't just lonely. I was exposed. And he knew it. The silence was unbearable. Every part of me was on edge, restless. I gave up on sleep and got up, barefoot, moving without thinking. I told myself I just needed more water, maybe a moment of calm. But I knew I was walking back out there. He was still awake, sitting alone in the dark, only the faint glow of his phone lighting his face. When he saw me, he didn't look surprised. "You couldn't stay away either," he said. I paused. No excuses left. I didn't respond. He stood slowly, taking a few steps toward me. "I'm not trying to mess anything up," he said. "But I know what I felt tonight. You felt it too." There was no point in pretending. My silence said everything. "I shouldn't be here," I whispered. "But you are." His voice was calm, steady, not cocky.
"Certain."
He reached for my hand, barely touching it, waiting for me to pull away. I didn't. I couldn't. Something about the quiet between us made everything else vanish. My marriage, my role, my sense of reason. We stood there, face to face, breathing the same air, hearts pounding louder than either of us wanted to admit. When he leaned in, I didn't stop him. I let it happen, as if it had already happened 100 times in my mind. His kiss wasn't aggressive. It was careful, deliberate, like he'd thought about it and decided it was worth every risk. I kissed him back. There wasn't a plan. There wasn't a conversation. There was only instinct, emotion, the raw pull of something we both had no business feeling. I should have walked away the second his lips touched mine. I didn't. I let it continue. I let it. Time dissolved. My body moved before my thoughts caught up. His touch was new and reckless and terrifying, but it was also everything I didn't know I'd missed. After, we sat in the dark, both quiet. I was trembling, not from fear, but from the weight of what I'd just allowed. I stared at the floor, heart racing, breath shallow. "I didn't plan this," I said finally. "I know," he replied. "Neither did I. But I don't regret it." I didn't answer. My guilt already felt unbearable. But under it, buried deep, was something worse, the way I'd felt alive in his arms. More seen in one night than I'd felt in years. "This doesn't leave this room," I said firmly. He nodded. "Of course." And yet, something in his tone made me wonder if this wasn't the end at all. The morning light made everything worse. It exposed things the dark had kindly hidden. I sat at the edge of my bed, wrapped in a robe, still replaying every second of what I'd let happen. It wasn't just a mistake. It was a betrayal, clear and absolute. My heart pounded every time I thought of facing anyone, especially Liam. By the time I made it to the kitchen, Jordan was gone. No note. No message. Just silence. Liam was still asleep, unaware of what had happened under his roof. I stared at the empty coffee pot and felt sick. What had I done? The guilt wasn't just emotional, it was physical. It sat in my stomach like something rotten, reminding me I'd crossed a line I couldn't uncross. I wanted to rewind everything, erase the look in Jordan's eyes when he kissed me, remove the way I'd responded. But it was there, burned into memory. I showered, trying to wash it off, but nothing helped. The more I tried to forget, the clearer it all became. I kept asking myself if it meant anything, if it was just a moment of weakness. But deep down, I knew it wasn't that simple. It wasn't about the kiss, or even the act. It was about what it revealed, how empty I'd been, how easy it was for someone else to see me when my own husband hadn't in years. When he returned from his trip that evening, I smiled, hugged him, pretended nothing had changed. But everything had. I couldn't look him in the eyes without feeling a wave of shame. I didn't speak much. He didn't notice. That part almost hurt more than anything else. Liam was his usual self, clueless and cheerful. If he suspected anything, he didn't show it. The normalcy in the house felt surreal, like everyone was acting in a play, and I was the only one who knew the script had changed. I caught myself checking my phone, even though I knew Jordan wouldn't text. He wouldn't dare. I didn't know if I wanted him to. Part of me needed distance, closure, a wall between what happened and what could still happen. But another part, the one I hated, wondered if he was thinking about it too. I told myself it was a one-time thing, a lapse in judgment. But late at night, when the house was quiet again, I didn't feel finished. I felt suspended, like the story hadn't ended, just paused. Then, 3 days later, Liam mentioned casually that Jordan might come by that weekend. He said it like it was nothing, like he was talking about ordering takeout or watching a game. I nodded, pretending I didn't feel my pulse spike. And in that moment, I realized something even worse than the guilt. I wasn't scared of seeing him again. I was hoping he would.